Okay, we are live. Yes, we are. But, however, and yet, although, we must let it breathe because Facebook and Instagram, they want in on this party too. So we got to get them connected. We're almost there. And looks like we're good. Welcome in, everybody. It's the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen, and I hope everyone's had a great weekend with me, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zack, how's your weekend been, big dog?
I tried getting some sun today, Chad. Making getting a little color for this pale skin, and it was fun. I was talking to Dylan about the weather. I'm not a fan of the warmth and this time of year, but it was a nice, enjoyable Sunday, and I'm happy to be potting back with you again, talk more Broncos football.
You know what they say is that vitamin D is tremendously important, and the light that comes from the sun, etc. It's good to get out in it a little bit. But
Yeah.
if you're going to, noon to 1 is the most optimal time to soak in all the goodness that comes from the vitamin D. So I've read. Today I was actually doing the similar thing though, Zach. I was out in the yard though at my 92-year-old Nana's house. She can't do this stuff herself anymore.
Yeah.
To clean up her yard, get her kind of some spring cleaning, weed,
Nice.
get everything looking prim and proper. So as you can probably imagine, Zach, I'm ready to talk some Broncos. But first things first, some hellos real quick before we dive into the topics for tonight, because golly, I see we already have a few super chats locked in. We're going to get to those, but hello to David Yunkin, who I believe was first. Jimmy Thielen, what's up? The Papa Bear with the super chat early. Thank you, David. Saying good evening, Broncos country. Chad, Zach, Deacon Scott. Scott's almost back. Not quite, almost back. Dylan's in the room with us today. Hashtag God bless the USA. Let's go, Bo. MHH for life. Buckham times 3. Dem Bronx for life. Love it. Still willing to trade up, he says, Zach, for Ashton Genty. What do you think?
This is the trope of a lot of Broncos fans. Obviously, we've talked about this, David, ad nauseum on last podcast and the podcast before that, and for good reason. He's the best running back in this class. He's a 3-down playmaker. He would fit in so perfectly with what Sean Payton wants to do. Just he's going to probably go in the top 10, and I don't think you trade up that far for a non-quarterback. So we'll have to just go to Plan B or Plan C, whoever that may be.
Especially for a running back in a class that is, some say, is the best since, basically like the best or one of the two best of the 21st century. You can hang tight and either take a guy at 20, Zach, play, take your chances on whether or not Genty falls, which there's still a chance. I don't expect it to happen, but take O'Marion Hampton, one of the most commonly mocked guys to the Broncos, the only other bona fide first round pick running back in this class. But then you get to the next crop of some really good dudes like the Ohio State boys. So, and then so many more. But I feel you. Don't worry. I mean, don't get us wrong here, Papa Bear. We feel you. He's that intriguing. He'd be that great of a fit. Zach, I think it was you had an article. What was it? The best fits for Ashton Genty, and the Broncos were among them. So it's easy to understand why the attraction that is there and the compulsion to, we got to get him. But I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, it was best landing spots for Genty and the Broncos were named, and it's an obvious and a persistent trope in Broncos country and the national media. But on that list were teams that were picking ahead of Denver, like Chicago, New Orleans, Dallas, and Vegas, who is the popular candidate right now to take Genty in the top 10. So again, it's fun to dream. I just don't see the Broncos going up and getting him.
The Lady D jumping in from the top rope before we even went
Yeah,
live. Lady D, Deanna Hendry, we love you. Thank you so much. You're awesome. She says, evening Broncos country. Shout out to Chad, Zach, and Deacon Scott / Dylan, if she would have known, of course, Dylan. I'm excited. The closer we get to the draft, let's get us some RBs and maybe a defensive lineman. That's not like Arby's, at the roast beef. She's saying some RBs, like running backs. I'm super excited for what this year will bring. Hashtag MHH for life. Hashtag bridge the gap. Thank you for that. And by the way, really appreciate those of you in MHH land who have streamed the new Bridge the Gap album and bought the album, the vinyl, the CD. Many of you have, and I love you for it. Thank you so much. Means a lot. But Zach, what are we, 11 days out from the draft, something like that? So yeah,
yep.
it's getting close, baby.
Thank you so much, Deanna, as always. You make us genuinely happy when you bless us with your presence. And I'm talking about the super chat, just your insight and your conversation that you start with what you bring to the table. We appreciate it so much. And yeah, you have to get multiple running backs. Ideally, you get your 3-down guy who's speed and power, but one power back, one speed back, and defensive line is a major area of need, Chad, that's not being talked about like running back or receiver, tight end, like all offseason, but they have to use a premium pick. I don't know about 20. That's the debate for me still. That's where I'm a bridge too far, whatever the expression is, but a premium round draft pick on a defensive lineman, absolutely, Deanna.
There are a few quality caliber options that could be there for the Broncos on the D line at 20. In fact, Eric Trickle published 2 of his Finding Broncos on that very subject today. Derek Harmon, Zach from Oregon, and of course, Walter Nolan from Ole Miss, who we've spoken about quite a lot on this podcast. But Derek Harmon, man, he's an interesting guy. Could end up being gone by the time the Broncos pick at 20. And Nolan, he has a little bit of off the field concerns, some effort concerns here and there, but he would be absolutely an interesting option. And in this class, like, look, if this was just, let's say, Zach, an average running back class, I would be a little bit more nervous about the Broncos not taking the best available back at pick 20. But because it's so deep, it's like, hey, maybe the smart play really is, Zach, to load up at some of these other premium positions, whether it's D-line, not necessarily premium, but like need positions. For example, interior offensive line, what are you going to do at center? But it's a deep class. So, but yeah, check it out on Derek Harmon, Walter Nolan. Their scouting reports are up right now at MHH.
And the same can be said about wide receiver or tight end. You know, you can find those players in the second or third round. You don't have to feel shoehorned into taking one of those guys at 20. So the Broncos have a lot of flexibility. And Deanna, like I've said for quite a while now, there's no real wrong pick they could make at 20 except for a quarterback. And we all know they're not going that route, thankfully.
Thank you, Lady D, so much. Michaela Parker, the Duchess, jumping in, 2 of the ladies of MHH, as always, the case, leading the way. The Duchess says, I hope we pay Courtland Sutton. He is a stand-out dude. Love you. We love you too. And thank you for reminding me to get back on task. We titled around this, hey, Courtland Sutton updates the contract talks with the Broncos. And here is what he told the Denver Post, Parker Gabriel. This came out over the weekend. That, first of all, the talks are, quote, going in the right direction. Then he went on to say, quote, my team has had a really good conversation with the guys up there in the front office, and I think it's working in the right direction. Ultimately, you just want to know you're working in the right direction. I think they see and have seen what I've brought to the team. I'm open and optimistic about the fact that I'll be able to be here for the rest of my career, which is interesting, Zach, because he's entering his age 30 season. So I think it's only a matter of time, though, Zach, before he gets extended. It's not going to be before the draft in all likelihood. George Payton essentially told us that 2 weeks ago. But in the aftermath of the draft, probably July and August are when they like to get these done.
Yeah, and there was a sign of good faith on both sides. Last offseason, the Broncos, I mean, Courtland held out from voluntary practices, but then they kind of made amends by giving him some incentives, which he met, by the way. So I think he deserves an extension with some guaranteed money. Nothing top of the shelf like Justin Jefferson money or Jamar Chase money, but to do right by a player who's been a foundational talent that you've built up from the bottom and who stuck with you through a lot of bad times. So I think it'll happen, like Chad said, after the draft.
It's easy to say that it was a holdout, but if he didn't undergo that off-season procedure, he claims the Broncos told him to stay in Florida and work, rehab it, and we'll see it at mandatory. I don't know how much of that is true. But Zach, what do you think this year? Do you think he skips voluntary and shows up for mandatory, or do you think he shows up to capitalize on the additional reps with Bo?
I could see it going both ways, honestly. It would depend how far along they are in negotiations. If he thinks the Broncos are going to make good on their promise to get him an extension, he'll show up and, like I said, extend that good faith to both sides. But I'm not putting it past him. They are voluntary, so we shouldn't freak out. He would show up for mandatory, but I can honestly see it going both ways, Chad. Hopefully not.
Just remember, a healthy Rod Smith would never miss a voluntary workout ever. But I think Zach, that it really was more the injury last year that kept him out, and with the Broncos' blessing. But it'll be interesting to see what happens there. The Ronk, what's up, brother? Great to see you tonight. Good evening, Chad and Zach on the Mile High Huddle podcast. Go Bo Broncos. Thank you, buddy. It's great to see you as well. And we also have Dennis R. Brown Jr. checking in to say, what's good, gents? Hey, dude.
What's good, Dennis?
There's a lot of good things. A lot of good things, man. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Jimmy Thielen wants to know, can the draft get here already? Hey, buddy, I wish we could snap our fingers and, rub the lamp. The genie comes out. Hey, we got the draft right now. But it's only 11 more days. We'll be all right. However, I got to tell you, and I don't say this, Zach, as, I'm not trying to disincentivize people from reading the articles, but how many publication mocks player X to the Broncos articles can there be written and read? I mean, dude, I don't know, what's 7 times 350? I mean, 1,000 almost, maybe not quite that, but it's been like hundreds of those kind of articles, Zach, since January, because that's what we do at MHH. We find and scour every possible thing about the Broncos from credible sources, credible publications around the internet, and we bring that to your attention. But I can't read, Zach, anymore. O'Marion Hampton, Colston Loveland. Really, those two, I'm tapped on it. I'm tapped, dude. I can't read anymore. They are obvious fits. There's a reason why they're continually mocked, but the mock season, Zach, is mercifully soon at an end.
I swear to God, I was thinking about this earlier today. Yeah, I mean, now the mocks are getting into let's just be silly territory and throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Like Jalen Walker, Nick Emenwari at 20. No, it's not really that realistic. The most likely outcome is the most probable here. I think the Broncos will go running back, but I'm a little fatigued when it comes to mocks myself, so I totally understand it. I think there's too big of a gap between free agency and the draft. They need to really condense that going forward, Chad.
Hey, Ronk, dude, thank you for doing that. I just want to let you guys know that if you buy the vinyl or a CD through the actual band's merch website, not the record labels, I'm the one that has them, so I can sign them if you want. They look like this. Bridge the Gap. The album's called Gainsayer, etc. I'm curious, Mike, did you buy the CD or did you buy the vinyl? I don't know. Not everyone's a vinyl collector, or maybe you bought it digitally. But either way, if you want it from the band and you'd like me to sign it, all you got to do is order it. Just remember this. What's the band name? Bridge the Gap. The website for our merch that comes from me is Bridge the Gap merch, kind of like our MHH merch. Easy to remember. But Mike, thank you, big dog. That means a lot, buddy. Hey, Zach, we've got where'd it go? William James Baker from across the pond jumping in. Good morning, my guys. Hope you're well as always. I think trade back is going to happen, especially with the draft simulations that make it harder not to trade down. Yeah, I mean it's definitely in the list of possibilities, Zach. But is it in the list of probabilities? You have that yin and yang pull of opposites between George Payton and Sean Payton. George Payton wants to, his natural disposition is to trade back, stockpile. Sean Payton's is to trade up or take what's there. So we'll see.
Yeah, simulations are simulations. What happens on draft night and how the board actually falls and breaks, nothing can determine that or predict that ahead of time. So if the Broncos, if they're staring at a player, whoever it is, whoever they might want at 20, and Sean Payton wants to pull the trigger, they're going to pull the trigger. I really don't see a trade back happening.
Ronk, you got the CD? Sick, dude. Thank you for doing that, big dog. Means a lot. Seriously. Thank you, buddy. Glenn Ashley jumping in, saying good morning. Remember, he's in Melbourne. We say it Melbourne. We're in America, but still, I try to say it the way you might say it. Down under, Oz. Good morning, Chad, Zach, Broncos country. Hope y'all had a great weekend. Less than 2 weeks till the draft. # state of being. Indeed, brother. You are definitely one of the members of our community that exemplifies the # state of being. Broncos country is not a geographic location. It's a state of being, baby. Joe Anthony wants to know, do you see any more free agent signings, Zach, before the draft?
No, I think they're about tapped. I mean, who really else do they need? They've picked up like even the auxiliary positions, backup quarterback, punter. They could use a veteran defensive lineman. They could obviously use a running back and a wide receiver 2.5 like we've heard about, but they haven't signed these players for a reason to this point, and I think the reason is they're going to get these guys in the draft. So I think they're just about done.
Yeah, and the other thing that has to be brought up, and Bob, Eric, they've done a good job. Bob Morris, Eric Trickle, of keeping this at the fore, which is teams start at this time of the year. Like, you're well past the second, third phases of free agency. You're now at the dregs, and teams, when you're talking about the dregs, they're very conscientious and aware of doing anything that might screw up their compensatory formula. So usually these kind of, hey, let's fill this hole, we missed this, or it's not quite as deep as we wanted, it's usually after the draft. And I think, Zach, at this stage, during the draft or after the draft, actually, I think that's the best case scenario, because also it gives the team the opportunity to see how many more of the holes, things they wanted to get done in the draft, they were able to get done. So we'll see. But I think post-draft, you might see one or two more moves, but the kind of low-level stuff, nothing that's going to be top line.
And you have to think about starting to extend your own players. Like, we're talking about Courtland Sutton, but also Nick Bonito's up for a new deal. Zach Allen wants a new deal. We've talked about this, countless times, but Malcolm Roach, JFM, you got to start thinking about rewarding and taking care of and using some of your own resources toward your in-house talent. Thank you, Deanna, in advance.
Yeah, she jumps in again to say, thank Dylan for sitting in. Love having you help bring the show to us all. Can't wait for my signed copy. Yes, you got one coming. That's for sure, Lady D. Love draft time, hashtag MHH for life. Yeah, she's giving Dylan some props, making sure Dylan doesn't feel left out. She's wanting to make sure you feel the love. So he appreciates that trust. Thank you, Lady D. Very generous of you. Love you. Zach, another storyline here I wanted to get to from over the weekend, kind of interesting. A couple of them actually, is let me find it here. This came courtesy of Zach Stevens at DNVR, and also former Bronco receiver, member of the Super Bowl 50 team, Benny Fowler, talking with Evan Ingram. And remember, they're boys, Fowler and Ingram, because they were on the New York Giants roster post Super Bowl 50. They spent time together, so they're buddies. Kind of cool. And then, of course, what's one of the connections that, honestly, Zach, we didn't talk that much about relative to Ingram joining the Broncos? Well, one of his quarterbacks with the New York Giants was Davis Webb. And we learned through this interview that Davis Webb, from Benny Fowler, and then it was written up by Zach Stevens at DNVR, but Davis Webb played a huge role in Evan Ingram choosing to come to Denver as opposed to, say, the Los Angeles Chargers. So it's very much worth a read. But a couple things here, Zach, that I think are more interesting is what Ingram said about Bo Nix and how Bo Nix factored into the whole recruitment milieu. Like, it was a factor. Here's what he said, quote, "Bo has everything that it takes to be great in this league. The biggest thing that stood out to me was his presence in the pocket. He's very calm, very collected. When the pocket does break down, the plays he can make on his feet while having his eyes downfield is something that you have to continue to put great talent around, because that is a weapon. That is a true weapon." Close quote. There's one other thing he had to say, Zach, but first things first, your thoughts on that so far from Evan Ingram.
Number one, the connection or like the recruitment of Bo Nix is obvious. Everyone wants to play with a young up and coming franchise quarterback who just led his team to the playoffs. So I love the fact that he's already viewed as a catch and an attractive factor for joining the Broncos. But the Broncos do have a future offensive coordinator, head coach on their hands in Davis Webb, Chad. That's why the Broncos protected him this offseason. Him and Jim Leonard wouldn't let them get away. And it's only a matter of time before he does. But they're up and coming, and you see it. It's just not just with the players, but the national media. They're a destination city again, Chad. Players, multiple ones. Even the backup quarterback, Sam Ehlinger, talked about wanting to play with Sean Payton and back up Bo Nix. You weren't hearing that a couple years ago. You're hearing that now.
And you just had some real sample size. I get it, just 1 year, but 18 games that you got to see Bo Nix progress, matriculate. The consistency is what really stands out about Bo Nix's rookie campaign, which gives you, whether you're a fan or a prospective free agent looking to make a deal and land somewhere else, gives you a lot of confidence that that's the model, that you're going to continue to see that. But here's the other thing Ingram said, quote, "You look back at Nix's college days, he played a lot of football." That he did. Remember, Bo Nix was the most experienced college quarterback to ever enter the NFL draft at the time, with 61 career starts, which is now, Zach, been beaten. But at the time, he was. Ingram goes on, "A lot of these young quarterbacks come into the league now after maybe sitting out their first year and balling for 2 years, and they're already a top draft pick, which they have all of the talent in the world, but it does take a lot of experience to become great at the position." That's something Bo has grown a lot. He had a great college career. I think there was a little bit of adversity in there where he had to overcome at a very early part of his career, talking about the drama that went down at Auburn. That speaks a lot to me as somebody who has overcome a lot of things in their career, close quote. So Bo Nix's story, Zach, also resonates with Evan Ingram.
And if you think about it, and there's no real way to tap dance around it, is the fact that Evan Ingram chose playing with Bo Nix over Justin Herbert. He chose the Broncos over the Chargers, and the offers, Chad, reportedly were comparable. So it wasn't about the money. It was the opportunity that he felt best comfortable or most comfortable with and best case for his future. And he felt the best case for his future was catching passes from Bo Nix and taking calls from Sean Payton. So again, you love to see how they went from irrelevant, this loser clown franchise, the outside perception anyway, to now a team that players, good players, former Pro Bowlers want to come with and shirk others for in the process.
That's like that meme from what Sean Payton said. I don't know. I think it might have been at the NFL owners meetings. I'll paraphrase him though, that, you know, the Denver Broncos are a place players want to play for. They like the city. I need to just find that. I think I've already, I'd have to go back and see if I can find it. Let me just do a quick perusal. No, maybe I haven't. Nope, I made a new one over it. That's all right. But we all get the gist. So really cool stuff. Again, all credit and props to the DNVR boys. Go read that article. It's a very good, illuminating read. And I just found what he had to say. I mean, plus we could get into it, but Zach, what he had to say about Davis Webb. He said that as soon as the Jacksonville Jaguars cut him, Davis called him within 30 minutes of the news breaking and was like, "Yo, come to Denver, dude. Let's get started on this," you know. So that's kind of cool to hear.
And that's like Sean Payton wanting to like literally break down Bo Nix's door on the eve of draft night. If they want their man, they'll do anything to get their man. I found the quote that you were talking about, Chad. This was from Sean Payton from a few weeks ago at the owners' meetings about the Broncos. He says, "We're a team players want to play for. We're a city that's very appealing to athletes to want to live." Again, you weren't hearing that and you weren't seeing that play out in actuality a few years ago. Credit to Sean Payton for turning the culture around and quite quickly at that, Chad.
It's been great to see. And so badly needed. A quick segue, Bronco Danny, thanks for being with us on X, my brother. This is to a comment I said earlier that we're kind of at the dregs point of free agency. He's like, well, Justin Simmons, Von Miller, man, never thought they'd be dregs. Well, Father Time is Father Time, man. And he remains undefeated. Even Tom Brady tried to fend him off, but was ultimately, Zach, in the final analysis, vanquished by Father Time. So let's face it, neither one of those guys are the same player they were in their prime. And that's okay. That's the way the cookie crumbles. We know that. So me saying dregs, it's and for what it's worth, neither of these guys are dregs. They're in a separate category. They're in a different category. They're in a proven veteran waiting for the right opportunity category. And their time will come. They'll find a team will find them. But there are also two guys who, because of what they're looking for out there, money-wise, they're at a point in their careers, Zach, where teams feel comfortable waiting to decide if they actually want them. So make of that as what you will qualitatively in terms of the implications, Justin Simmons, Von Miller, but it's the truth. Hard to argue with it.
These are also two guys whose tape has not looked good the last couple seasons, quite frankly. And ball don't lie. There's a reason why they're both unsigned. Obviously, 32 teams feel like they're not worthy of a contract at this moment. And it's hard if you look at what they brought to the table the last couple seasons in Buffalo and Atlanta, respectively. They're unsigned free agents for a reason.
Gene William, what's up, dude, on Facebook saying, "What's up, y'all? Happy to be a lovable city again." The Bo effect. Yeah. The Bo effect and the Payton effect. Another interesting piece from that Ingram interview was, hey, well, you're like singing the praises of how much Davis Webb factored into the recruitment. Bo Nix, he did spend a little bit of time around Bo Nix while he came on his visit, but no, what about Sean Payton? Wasn't Sean Payton a big reason why you chose? And of course he was, but he said, Zach, that in his visit to the team facility, Sean Payton spent most of his time talking to Ingram's wife, like in a personable way, like getting to know you, chatting up the missus, which is actually very smart, very smart. So Sean Payton knows what he's doing. Sean Payton can connect with a player easily, man, when he wants to. When the time comes, he can connect with the player. He stands more, Zach, on his resume and what that telegraphs and broadcasts to the NFL at large. And but you know what? Again, knows what he's doing, talking to the wife. Guess who appreciated that? Evan Ingram.
And it does count for something. I'm going to give a little random factoid out. 20 years or so ago, Antoine Winfield was about to sign with the Jets. He was at the facility, and he was about to put pen to paper, and I think his wife talked him out of signing with them, and they got on a plane, and he signed with the Vikings. So there a lot goes into it. You have to make a connection with the family, with the spouses, and show that it's beyond football. If you have to schmooze and BS a little bit, it's part of the process, and Sean Payton, Chad, in his interviews with Kay Adams showed he is very good at doing that.
It actually reminds me of my father. Shout out to the Mark Jensen, looking probably watching us right now. He's not, I didn't mean to be he's not departed. Mark Jensen still walks the earth. He's a legend. He can be he's undefeated. But anyway, he's exactly that same kind of way. Like, yeah, if you went out, like let's say we all went out, we all brought our misses or our significant others, he would spend his time talking to them, not you or you, Dylan, or me. So why that is, and it's not some gross thing. It's not because, it's not that. It's genuine interest. But in a business setting, Zach, people appreciate that. You're taking interest in them, and not only that, but you're being personable about it and, connecting and all that. People appreciate it. The Duchess jumping in again. Love you. Thank you. Michaela Parker, number 2 tonight. You're the best. She says, as wrong as it might sound, I am in love with Bo Nix. He is my QB. I mean, it's like I'm sure, I'm just guessing. It's like a platonic kind of love. Like, you have love for him. You love him. But you know what? Even if it's not, hey, he's Bo Nix, dude. He can pull, Zach.
Absolutely. Yeah, Michaela, I think on a platonic level, at least everyone in Broncos country is in love with Bo Nix. And it's just funny for you to say that, you've come around so far. A year ago at this time, you were so downtrodden and understandably so about the Broncos prospects. Who are they going to draft? Are they going to ever pull out of being a dumpster fire? And now they have a quarterback that you're in love with, and we all are, quite frankly. So thank you, as always.
Such a great time to be a Bronco fan. Like, we wandered that desert, baby, for a long time. Like the children of Israel of old, dude, wandering. Is that an oasis? Just when you get there, oh, no, figment of the landscape. Psych. Drew Lock, oasis. Psych. Russell Wilson, oasis. Psych. And then you can kind of make out through the haze. You're like dying from thirst. You're sunburnt. You're like just ready for it all to end. And in the haze, you make out this kind of blonde, flat top looking dude. And as you inch closer, you're like, I want to get my hopes up that some water, some rest, some shade. And you're just waiting for him to disappear, but he doesn't. He gets bigger into the view, and then boom, he's the real thing. That's what it felt like, Zach, after 8 long years of wandering the desert.
Yeah, we don't have to wander anymore. And Sean Payton even talked about that, not being in the quarterback market, the starting quarterback market anyway, and how nice it is. And for us that cover the team, it's not quite as good for business, but it's so comforting knowing that they don't have to worry about that and they can build around their franchise quarterback now.
Sean could make it a lot easier on us and better for business if he would like let his players talk to the press more than
Mm-hmm.
what is the absolute minimum mandate per the NFL and NFLPA agreements.
Facts.
Michaela, love you. George Fox saying, great pod again tonight. Thanks, guys. Hit the thumbs up. Broncos for life, MHH for life. Thank you, George. And as always, buddy, we appreciate you pounding the table for those likes on our behalf, buddy. Means a lot to us. Victor Espinoza checking in. What's good, big dog? Nice to
Thank you,
see you.
Victor.
Says, good afternoon, fellas. I hope all is well. It is. I hope you all had a Knicks-exceptional weekend. I like it. Another Bo pun, dude, but not on the Bo side, on the Knicks side. Knicks-exceptional weekend. Really, really, I like it. MHH for life, go Bo Broncos. Really cool. Thank you, Victor.
Yeah, thank you, Victor. It was a good weekend. We're just all ready for the draft to finally get here.
Where are we at? We're at 30 minutes. We're doing pretty good. We'll probably keep tonight pretty tight, guys. So if you have any burning questions, topics, supers, get them in the chat. I see an OG right here. Okie Engineer. What's up, fellas? Been a while since I caught you live. Super excited about this draft and the upcoming season. We are just getting better and better. Full faith in Sean and the team. Let's go. Yeah, buddy. Well, it's good to see you. Welcome back to the campfire. We've kept it blazing. Let not your heart be troubled, as you can see. It was kind of interesting, Zach. I was waiting for the right jersey that the Lady D wanted. And so I ended up finally, thanks to her reminder, finding it yesterday. And so when I went into my account where I order these jerseys, because I don't just sometimes I'll have a little stockpile here where I'll ship them out, but most of the time I just go on, you choose what you want, ordered, boom, shipped to your door when we do the raffles or giveaways or whatever. And so I went to my account. I was making sure that I hadn't already ordered it because these are the kind of things that I'll overlook and forget or whatever. So I'm making sure I haven't already ordered. And I'm seeing the list of people to whom I've shipped jerseys, the jersey winners. And I got to tell you guys, half of them, we haven't seen them for 3-4 months, maybe longer. Half of them. Now, it's more like 3-4 months, but it goes back to the whole thing we were talking about that you've heard Zach and I lament, especially early this offseason, an unprecedented level of engagement from fans in the Broncos that's normally a 12-month a year thing, just disengaging after the playoff loss. They're just like, okay, we got it made in the shade. We made it back to the playoffs. We got our coach, we got our quarterback. Wake me up when it's the free agency. And then now it's like, wake me up when it's the draft. And then now, hey, wake me up, Zach, when training camp rolls around. Very atypical for Broncos country. That's one of the things that shocked me, Zach, because this is part of what makes Broncos country, despite it still being a small media market technically, but on a level with the Pittsburgh Steelers of the world, the Dallas Cowboys of the world, the San Francisco 49ers, in terms of like Green Bay fan bases that are cherished and travel and they're huge fan bases, is that maniacal. It's not just the favorite team, Zach. Broncos, even in a big sports town like Denver, it's a religion. So it was a shock to see people kind of put it on ice. But Okie Engineer, glad to have you back in the fold, big dog.
I think you're absolutely right about why they kind of checked out. And you guys can correct us if we're wrong, but the other reason is, okay, they kind of made it harder than they had to get into the playoffs to begin with, and then they get into the playoffs and get absolutely blown out by Buffalo. So maybe a lot of fans were turned off by that. I don't know, but it seemed like getting a franchise quarterback, like we talked about, wasn't the best for business. But your comment there, Okie, stood out to me. And I've read this countless times. I've seen it countless times, talked about it countless times, but it always stands out is that we are just getting better and better. Because we couldn't have said that a year ago, 2 years ago, anytime in the 10-year desert that we wandered that Chad was talking about. The fact that we are ascending so quickly and so highly, it's very fun.
And guys, trust me, we were doing this when Peyton Manning was calling the signals, okay? It's not similar. Even back then, fans were ravenous, insatiable off seasons. How are we going to get better? How are we going to, Peyton gets knocked out in the divisional round. How are we going to make sure we get to the next step? Off season fanaticism, free agency, the draft. Even when we got blown out in the Super Bowl, okay, how do we get back up on the horse and get over the hump, et cetera, et cetera. There was just unique factors, a confluence of strange factors that played on this particular offseason. Really bizarre. Joe Anthony, though, Zach, to shift gears, wants to know, do you think the Broncos will get selected for Hard Knocks?
we all would love to see the inside access, the really unparalleled access that Hard Knocks offers. I love the show as a viewer, but knowing Sean Payton, if he wouldn't even let the free agents have a press conference, I don't think he's going to allow cameras to be sprawling around Broncos Park. So as much as we love to see it, Joe, I think another team is going to get it, unless they force the Broncos to be on the show.
Yeah, I don't think so. Exactly that. Unless somehow the NFL strong-armed, which again, we've seen them do it to the Broncos.
Right.
They did it in 2020, not Hard Knocks, but the strong arm forcing a situation that they could have just as easily made a concession on, like they did for many other teams. Week 12, Payton and the Saints coming to town, the whole Drew Lock, all the quarterbacks ruled ineligible for the game, and the NFL still forced them to play the game to make an example of the Broncos relative to their COOF policy and violating thereof and whatnot. So, but still, I don't think so. Okay, where are we at? We're doing still pretty good. DJ Capo jumping in. What's up, brother? Down in New Orleans. This guy's knows the whole history of Sean Payton. He's been a great resource to us and a great member of the community. Thank you for the super chat, brother. He says, "What's up, Broncos fam? I feel someone getting traded draft night. The Niners want Sutton bad. Not saying it's him. Could be someone on the D-line or O-line. Broncos for life. Wouldn't shock me, dude. Wouldn't shock me at all. Not Sutton. I don't think Sutton's going anywhere, guys, honestly. And like you said, not saying it's him, but he's important to Bo Nix. Thus, he'll be important to the Broncos. I could, though, Zach, you look at as he mentions, on the D-line, check out those expiring contracts. Not saying Zach Allen. He's precious, but a John Franklin Myers who was traded on around the draft last year, could see it. Not predicting it. I'm just saying, wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, DJ, thank you, first of all. But second of all, the entire goal is to build around, to add to Bo Nix's supporting cast. Trading Courtland Sutton for what would you get? Like a third-round pick is kind of counterintuitive to that process. You would trade someone from an area of great depth and offensive line. You don't really have depth there that you can trade. That's worth anything. Defensive line, like Chad says, interesting because Allen wants a new contract, but you should pay him. But behind him, Malcolm Roach and, as Chad said, JFM, maybe one of them go. They pay DJ Jones. You can't pay everyone. So if they were to move someone, DJ, we wouldn't want it. We want the core to be kept together. But I could see someone on the defensive line, like you said, being dealt away.
The Lady D jumping in again, her third very generous super chat of the evening. Love you so much, Deanna. She's telling everybody, hey, hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Hashtag MHH for life. And hey, that's a great reminder. Thank you. And it's been really cool to see how much the channel has grown this offseason. I mean, we're lamenting the people disengaging, but we've had more people subscribe on YouTube, Zach, from January to this point than did the entire calendar year of 2024. So welcome to all the new subs. We appreciate you joining us here. And to help us reach more people like that and like you, as Lady D saying, hit the like button, share, subscribe. Hashtag MHH for life. I love it. Thank you, Lady D. This question from one of our regulars over on Facebook, Leroy Williams, saying, I've been thinking about this for a while, but I think since the Super Bowl blowout by the Seahawks, it changed our identity as a team. So question, do you think our identity currently is offense or defense? Very interesting because we were definitely offense in Super Bowl 48, right? It was all about the record-setting year and Peyton Manning's 55 touchdowns, and you had 4 offensive skill players with double-digit touchdowns. Demaryius Thomas, pretty sure of this, Julius Thomas, Eric Decker, no Sean Moreno. And then when you combine his rushing and receiving touchdowns, and Wes Welker came dang close, Zach. They almost had 5. Now I got to check myself. Hold on. Wes Welker, 2013 stats. Yeah. No, Welker 2. Welker had 10. So they had 5. Hold on. Let me double check. No, I know Eric Decker did. I got to double check it. Eric Decker, 13, 11 tutties. We know DT was well over. So let me double check Julius Thomas. I'm pretty sure he had 12 if memory serves. Hold on. 13, 12 touchdowns. Yep. And then one more time for posterity. No, Sean Moreno, 2013, 10 touchdowns on the ground and 3 more. So Zach, you had 5 skill players hitting double-digit touchdowns. Peyton Manning throws for 55. Your identity was absolutely offense, but then you got curb stomped, Malachi crunched by the Seahawks, Legion of Boom in the Super Bowl. And John Elway goes, time to pivot. And he invested all that coin in who? That following offseason. DeMarcus Ware, TJ Ward, Aqib Talib. Then the following offseason, bringing in Darian Stewart. And now you became, as Peyton Manning was getting hurt and his faculties as an athlete starting to diminish, you became a defensive team. So what's your answer with that long run up of a history lesson? What's your answer for Leroy?
Well, the Broncos led the league in several defensive categories, including sacks last season. If you ask the average casual NFL fan this question, they'd probably say defense because of those reasons. Having PS2, for example, pretty much the only marketable player, maybe outside of Bo Nix on the Broncos roster. So for now, the identity is defense, but I think that paradigm is going to shift in a big way in 2025, where Bo Nix is going to become that marketable household name, and they're going to be known for their offense, Chad.
Yeah, exactly. My answer is yes. I think that you've got to remember the Broncos finished as a top 10 defense last year. They have a chance to be a top 5 defense in 2025. And Bo Nix and the Broncos, as a rookie, top 15 offense, nobody predicted that. Nobody saw that coming. And yet, that's how it shook out. So my answer is yes. I see this being one of those great teams in the same sense that, you know, Buffalo has a great offensive identity and a great defense, and some of the better teams, Baltimore as well. But I still think, Zach, it'll shade on the side of that quarterback face. And that's especially true when we know that the Broncos, in all honesty, they'll go as far as Bo Nix will take them. It's still, you can have the best defense, all that stuff. I mean, think of, Zach, the 2016 Broncos defense was ranked in the top 2 or 3 against the pass and against the run, and ridiculous defense. They won 9 games, lost 7, missed the playoffs because they just didn't have a quarterback. So you need that quarterback. Hi, Pearl, by the way. Good to see you. What about this question here from Jason Bonney that's created some discussion in the chat? Would you trade Nick Bonito, Zach, to Atlanta for the 15th overall pick?
Man, that's pretty tempting. I don't know. I mean, how comfortable do you feel about Jonah Ellis stepping into a starting role? If you do, then you have to entertain it. I think you can get more, even though Bonito is eligible for a new contract. He's a young, still progressing pass rusher, Chad, which are like gold in the NFL. So I don't know, Jason. That's a good question. I would lean toward keeping the core together and declining this offer, if only because there's no chance that at pick 15 you'd be taking a player as impactful as Nick Bonito was. So I'm going to just decline respectfully.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't see anybody that can replicate what he did and what he can do. Frankly, I didn't see that coming from him last year. Honestly, I thought if anyone was going to get close to that level of, it wasn't just the sacks, Zach, it was the playmaking impact on the ball, not like Vaughn with the strip sacks. I mean, Vaughn had his occasional, interception, like in that 2015 AFC Championship game, picking off Tom Brady. That was really cool. But in the case of Nick Bonito, Zach, back-to-back games where he scored. Right. That's like what you see from a DB, dude. And we're not talking like, oh, they're on the goal line, their opponent's backed up on their own 1, and someone forces a fumble, scoop and score. He made 2 insane plays and took it to the house. It's like Pat Surtain was mic'd up on one of those. I think it was the Colts one where the interception, right, where they tried to do that very ill-advised, whatever you would want to call it. I don't even know what you would call that play, but picks it off, boom, runs it back, and Surtain's just mic'd up, chugging down the field going, he's different. He's different. That boy's different, which he is. He's a freak, dude. And the Broncos are catching him at the right time. I don't think 15 would be worth. It wouldn't get you any closer to Genty. So no, I'm not trading Bonito for that.
that play, the infamous crotch grab play, Chad, or was that the Browns game? Regardless, that saved the Broncos season. I mean, that literally propelled them to them getting the wild card. So Nick Bonito, like you said, it's not just the interceptions of the sacks, it's also the pressure, the energy, and the other production he brings to the table. So I'm going to keep him. I'm actually going to pay Nick Bonito and have both of my starting outside linebackers, including Jonathan Cooper, locked down for the long term.
One in the hand is worth two in the bush. You got one in the hand in terms of Bonito. Now, the flip side, so I'll just throw the devil's advocate, take on this, which is, well, he's going into a contract year, big money possibly on the line that you might have to pay him. How much of a sure thing is he? After all, after two kind of so-so seasons, he has this big spike. How certain are you that he's going to be that same player? Plus, you're going to have to pay him. Why not take another first-round pick? You ended up parlaying a third-round selection from a couple years back, or second, into a first top 15 pick. Why wouldn't you do that? So the draft guys, that's the way they think, right? They're thinking about all of the downside risks, all of the holes in the boat. And that's something a mentor taught me a long time ago. It's more like relative to cultivating a mindset, a winner mindset, which is, if you look for a hole in the boat long enough, you're going to find one. And so glass half empty, glass half full, kind of that sort of thing. But anyway, I don't think that way. So for me, Bonito, I'd rather keep him on the roster, especially Zach, with that room. There's something special the Broncos have cooking. I mean, 13, 23, 24 sacks between Bonito and Cooper, 10 sacks between Jonah Ellis and Dondre Tillman. Let's go. We're keeping that intact, baby.
You're also in and I know it's going to sound crazy, but a championship window with Bo Nix being on a rookie cost-controlled contracts. You don't want to dismantle your core. That's a situation that a rebuilding team would do, is trade away one of their players with no future. They have no future, and they want to trade away one of their best players to accumulate as much as capital as possible. You don't have to do that. Keep your best players together. We talked about not trading away Courtland Sutton for the same reason. Pay your players and go win a Super Bowl.
Hey, I am Purple Drank. Good to see you. String Guy Chat. I wouldn't hold my breath on Payton giving the media any more access than he absolutely has to. Exactly, dude. That's just his style, much to our chagrin. I think also to fans' chagrin, because fans want as much access as possible. And I think, Zach, there is a happy medium. He just has no interest in striking it. He just is like, nah. I mean, dude, he didn't. I can't remember if he made the rookies available last year. But he didn't make them available in 2023, Zach. He didn't do a rookie minicamp press availability. He did do it last year. I'm double checking this. Yeah, so this is from May 9th, 2024. Oh no, that's like an advisory. Hold on. I got to double check this. Minicamp quotes. No, he hasn't done it. Wait. He hasn't done it either year. Wait. 5/12/24. What's this one? Sorry, hold tight. So this would have been rookie minicamp. He did do it last year, Zach. Chris Abrams-Drain, Frank Crum, Jonah Ellis, Audric Estime, Troy Franklin, Nick Gargulo, John Matocha, who's gone, and Bo Nix a little bit. Devon Vele, Blake Watson. So he did do it last year, just in the interest of being accurate. But yeah, if he doesn't have to, he won't do it.
And just like, it's so weird. It's like not giving your free agent pickups a chance to rave about the process. And they're not going to say anything bad about Denver. They're going to rave about them. So it's weird not to want to have that publicity go out there. But it's just Sean Payton's thing, and we all have to roll with it for now.
Dude, I bet you this is what happened. I bet anything. He didn't do it his first year here, right? Kept the rookies from the media. I bet the OGs, the gray hairs, the long tooths in that room, I'm not going to name names, but we all know who the tenured guys are, right? Pro Football Writers of America guys complained. I bet they complained up the chain, and it probably got to the league, and the league's like, you're not letting your rookies talk the first mini camp. Like, okay, we never hear from them again. That's fine. Because that's honestly the way it most often goes, unless it's a quarterback or like a top 5-10 pick. You hear the rookies at mini camp, you're not going to hear from those guys at the podium ever again unless they become a star down the road, with the exception of, again, a few things. So I bet you that's what happened, dude. I bet they complained, and he grudgingly had to do it the next year to avoid the blowback.
It's funny. Like, you look around at other teams and the access they give their players to the media is just unbelievable. It's media can walk right into the building and talk to whoever they want to, but we can't even get a free agent press conference. But Chad, if we get playoff wins and a franchise quarterback, we'll trade that for sure.
Okay, one last story I want to get to from over the weekend, and then we're going to dip out of here. So this is your 2-minute warning, gang. But this is Pat Surtain, who was recognized as one of the professional athletes of the year this past few days from the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame. In a conversation, Zach, with 9 News' Mike Kliss, he got a chance, we got a chance to hear Surtain dish on the new defensive free agents, Talanoa Hufanga and Dre Greenlaw. So first thing, Zach, I want your take on this. What he said about the new safety. Quote, Hufanga, definitely going to be an anchor for our defense. Just with his experience, obviously he's got all-pro, Pro Bowls, him being a ball hawk, looking over the defense. I think that's going to be a huge addition. He's a great player, and I'm looking forward to working with him, close quote. Zach, your thoughts on that?
I like the way Sean Payton put it best still. First responder and second responder on defense, and how quickly Hufanga always shows up on film and on the field in reality. So I'm glad for PS2 he has a little more comfortability back there, where PJ Locke is not his liability in the back end.
Here's what Surtain said of Greenlaw. Again, 9 News' Mike Kliss. Quote, when you look at his tape, he's very tenacious. He brings that edge with him that you look for in a linebacker. And he's a tremendous leader as well. I know he helped that San Francisco 49ers team to that Super Bowl run. That was in 2023. And I can't wait to work with him. I know he's going to bring an intensity to the defense that we definitely need, or added. We already had intensity for sure. I'm looking forward to working with him, close quote. So, you know how we keep talking about that dog? Surtain knows they were missing it. They needed that dog. Here he comes. Rough.
But who brought it, though? Maybe JFM or Malcolm Roach when he was on the field. He's a big talker, but there really wasn't that mouthpiece, that enforcer, that Aqib Talib or Derek Wolfe, and now they have that guy in Dre Greenlaw. It's what they needed, like you said.
It's going to be cool. Lawrence Rivera jumping in with the super. Thank you, buddy. I says trade
down.
Trade down. Cowboys pick. Yeah. Got a top tight end. Like AI? Is that what you're saying? AI says trade down, Cowboys pick and get a top with the Cowboys pick and get a top tight end. Let me look at the first round 2025 order. I got to remind myself of the back third. So after the Broncos, it goes at 21 are the Steelers, 22 the Chargers, 23 the Packers, 24 the Vikings, 25 the Texans, 26 the Rams, 27 Ravens, 28 Lions, 29 Commanders, 30 Bills, 31 Chiefs, and then, of course, 32 Eagles. We'll see, dude. I don't know. You can still get a top tight end in this class even if you don't take one of the first-round guys, Zach.
Dylan's trying to translate as well, and he thinks he means the Cowboys would trade down with the Broncos at 20, and then the Broncos moving up would take Tyler Warren in that spot. So I don't know. Maybe if you didn't sign Evan Ingram, that'd be more of a possibility. But
he meant up. He meant trade up. Yeah. Okay.
I don't see that happening.
What was it? Again, some of these, there have been so many, I get them twisted here. But Tyler Warren, he was mocked. Who mocked him? Yahoo's Nate Tice and Charles McDonald mocked. They think that because it's a position that, look, he's the best tight end in the class, Zach, but with the exception of Brock Bowers, I mean, Brock Bowers is the exception that proves the rule. Year one tight end, first round tight ends, first of all, year one, they don't usually contribute much. And NFL teams have gotten first round tight end wrong a lot. And so because of that historical sketchiness, it could push guys like Warren and Loveland down. So even though you got media guys going, first round this, first round that, top 10, top 15, in the final analysis and the practical reality of the NFL, teams might go, well, we like him. We think he can be that guy, but man, we don't want to get suckered into thinking every great tight end in each class is the next Brock Bowers. We're going to take this player instead. And that kind of thinking, Zach, could push him to 20. I still don't think it's going to happen, though.
Bowers was a great player, but many people failed to realize the context of the season and that a lot of garbage time playing for the Raiders, playing from behind where it was pass heavy game script. And also there was no one really aside from him getting the ball. They were forcing him the ball because he was the only talented player really on the roster. Tremendous talent, but I think we should all pump the brakes on wanting the next Brock Bowers for those reasons. But if Tyler Warren falls to 20, that's a different story than going up and trading for Tyler Warren. Great player, but they could just use that pick at a variety of different spots, Lawrence. I think they stay put and take maybe, as Chad said earlier, Omarion Hampton.
String Guy says Nick Kendall was talking about trading Bonito on Broncos for breakfast, and the reason is he's going to cost a lot to keep. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That's what I mean, is like the draft guys, they're all for that kind of thing. And Nick's just the kind of guy, I don't say this as a criticism, God bless him for it. World and MHH needs this kind of thinker that thinks about the hedge, that thinks about the worst case scenario, that has that that ruthless, brutally honest pragmatism. So that's what, and draft guys, Zach, they always want the picks anyway. So, but Nick, he strikes the balance. He's a draft guy, yes, and one of the best in the business, but he's also just a roster building guy. So that means Zach taking everything into account from, where you want your strengths of the roster to be, to balancing it with cap, to relative to all those things. He's pretty sharp. I still wouldn't do it though. I think Bonito would be worth more to the Broncos as a player than he would as a parlay to, get a move up in the draft or get an extra pick.
And I just feel like everyone wants to be the next Howie Roseman when they armchair, GM a team. There's only one Howie Roseman. There's only one Philadelphia Eagles. The Broncos have to be the Broncos. George and Sean Payton have to be George and Sean Payton and do what's in the best interest of their team. So hopefully, we'll have a resolution soon, which we will. That's what I was going to say.
Nick's all about that defensive line. That's what he's pounding the table for. And he's a trench guy, though. Plus the Super Bowl, Eagles, all that. All right, guys, we got a few messages for you. Then we're going to dip on out of here.
Tremendous episode, as always, of the Mile High Huddle podcast. If you're not doing so, please follow us on Twitter at the MHH Pod. You can follow the main account on Twitter at Mile High Huddle, Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Dylan, our producer for the evening, at Dylan Von Arks MHH. Don't forget about Scott at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out MHHmerch.com and get you some. If you haven't done so yet, please drop us a like at Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You can find us on Instagram at Mile_High_Huddle. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, please subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
A mile high salute and a special shout out to the great Super Chat superstars and supporters helping us keep the lights on kind of a sleepy Sunday. What a conversation. That was so fun. The Papa Bear, David McElrath, the Lady D with multiple top rope supers, Dennis R. Brown Jr. on Facebook, the Duchess with multiple supers, Michaela Parker, love you, the Ronk, Jimmy Thielen, Gene William, George Fox, Victor Espinoza, DJ Capo, and Lawrence Rivera. Much love and respect. Thank you, Ronk, helping us close out the show like this, as is your way with the stars and the show of support. It means a lot to us, big dog. But Zach and I, we will be back tomorrow night. We're going to have Taylor Christensen, a Super Chat superstar, on the show for a segment. It'll be fun to pick his brain and learn how he became a Bronco fan and see what he thinks on some of the key issues at hand. But have a great rest of your weekend, guys. I can't wait to see you tomorrow night.
Have a great rest of your Sunday. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care. And as always, go Broncos.